Guys, welcome back to not back and forth this time. It's
It's not back and forth.
not back and forth. It is the Four Quarters podcast. We'll also be having our own radio show in this very studio. Probably see the mics here, folding them down. Josh, unfortunately, isn't with us today, but he will be with us for the radio show and future episodes. Matt, anything else you'd like to add other than you just sorry for the long wait. Matt was in rehab.
In and out of rehab.
In and out.
And then
He's
back in.
quote unquote doing better. I saw him the other day at the UNLV football game with four beer cans under his seat. So
You thought that was bad. You should have seen Sunday night's game.
the Steelers probably, yeah, good thing. But anything else you'd like to add?
Welcome to Four Quarters, guys. We're going to be sending a lot of content, so stay tuned. We're going to make sure we get a lot of content to you on a very steady stream. And outside of this, make sure you guys tune in Sunday mornings, 8 to 10. Especially now, we got your football talk. Who's in, who's out on your fantasy team? Who might you need put in that last-minute pick? Tune in. We got you.
And just as Matt said, football season thankfully is finally back, and just wrapped up week one. The New England Patriots already a stacked roster. We thought they couldn't get any more better at least. Then they go pick up Antonio Brown off waivers from the Oakland Raiders, which we'll get a little bit into that. We saw the Dallas Cowboys put up a 35-17 victory. Offensively, they probably look like a top 5 offensive team in the NFL. We saw Matt's Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely crumble. Turns out they do need Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown desperately. And we saw our soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders start the season off 1-0 against the Denver Broncos, which is always good for me because my entire family's Bronco fans. So anytime they lose, I win. And also one of my fantasy leagues. So very good week for the Mr. Guy.
I would say shout out to Philip Lindsay for
Yeah,
it, right?
shout out to Philip Lindsay. He's on the Broncos. All I need him to do is get me his little 5 points to win the game. Then that's all I needed from him. He got me 10. Pretty much underperformed. I traded him literally right after the game ended with my buddy Devin. But we're going right in. We're going into right to week 2 here. Tonight, an absolute snooze fest of a game. Carolina Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I personally would rather watch paint dry. But, it is the first game of week 2. So we'll, keep it short and sweet. I doubt, probably most of you guys probably skip over this portion of the video. But, Matt, who do you have tonight in primetime Thursday night football? The Carolina Panthers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I would be utter shocked if Tampa Bay actually won this game, and it would kind of put an indictment, I think, on Cam Newton of Mr. I can't show up in prime time. As we call him, Superman Cam would not be so super when
It
it
hasn't
comes
been
to
Superman Cam since the Super Bowl 50, I believe. So.
Yeah, he's looked really really not good, and
He
it's
looked
just-
like the Superman, like maybe on Hollywood Boulevard or something.
maybe that one, yeah.
The
But
drunk Superman.
but no, I mean, in all seriousness, this should be a pretty winnable game for Cam Newton and his Panthers. It's a home game, prime time, fairly easy opponent in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I expect if Cam plays up to his potential, he has somewhere like 275, 280 passing, 2 or 3 touchdown passes, maybe a rushing touchdown in there, who knows. And fully expect Christian McCaffrey to get a lot of usage tonight. He's getting a lot of usage.
He put up like 42 points in fantasy.
I was going to say in both rushing and passing
Yeah.
game, he's done very well. Should be a pretty easy double-digit win, I would think, at least for Carolina. I think if it's not, it's an underperformance on the Panthers.
Yeah, I completely agree with Matt. For the sake of my fantasy team, I kind of need Cam Newton to shit the bed tonight, going against my buddy Devin. Kind of need need all the points I can get. I need Devin to get as least amount of points as possible. So Cam Newton, please throw 8 interceptions tonight. Throw for 20 yards and just fumble the ball 5 or 6 times.
Or even
for
just
me.
keep handing it off to Christian McCaffrey.
Or yeah, just hand it off to Christian McCaffrey all game. Better yet. But in all seriousness, I agree with Matt here. Panthers, put up a fairly competitive game against the former NFC champions, the Los Angeles Rams. They only lost that game by a field goal, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Going into tonight, Tampa Bay is not a very good team. They have a lot of work to do, especially on Jameis Winston's end. Came in the NFL, number 1 overall pick. We haven't seen the Jameis Winston we saw at Florida State, or at least the Jameis Winston that was the promised career he was supposed to have, I should say at least. Hasn't been very good, and if the Buccaneers aren't anywhere near playoff contention or, in playoff contention, I don't see how he's going to be on this team next year. I see they move on from him and maybe is Jameis Winston tall? Is he like 6'4"?
fairly decent size, I think. Yeah.
Maybe the Broncos will trade for him because John Elway loves tall quarterbacks. So
And after seeing Flacco from Monday night.
yeah, oh boy, it does. We've seen this with John Elway, Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, now Joe Flacco. He just likes tall
You're gonna have to start putting
quarterbacks.
some respect on Simeon's name now.
Oh yeah, he's a Jets.
Jet starter now.
I need Sam. My fantasy team can't catch a break, man. Drafted Andrew Luck. He retired. Now Sam Darnold's hurt. So Marcus Mariota, please carry the Slimeville Slimes to a victory this weekend. We'll go into some other games. Pretty clear here. We expect the Panthers to win. Anything less would be pretty shocking and disappointing. Cowboys and Redskins, rivalry game in the NFC East. Dallas 1-0 coming off that 35-17 victory against the New York Giants. Offense probably looked the best it's been in years. I mean, Dak Prescott throwing for 405 yards, and we saw Zeke only get 13 carries, but was still able to put up 54 yards and a touchdown with that. Was able to get some receiving yards out of the backfield as well. And as for the Redskins, it seemed like they were going to run away with that victory against the Philadelphia Eagles. They were up 17-0, and then after that, they kind of just fell apart and ended up losing the game 27-32. So this is a big game for the both teams essentially. The Redskins, you don't want to get off to that 0-2 start, and the Cowboys, they have a chance to get off to a 3-0 start this year. If they win, against Washington, start off 2-0, then they play Miami at home next week. That's pretty much a given. So that could be a 3-0 start for Dallas. So this is a key game for both teams. Also a divisional rivalry. Matt, what do you got?
I'm going to take Dallas in this game. I liked what I saw, especially on the offensive end from Dak Prescott and Zeke. Very efficient. Got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but they obviously got it right back going. Dak, I believe, had 405 and 4 touchdown passes.
Yep. Perfect QB rating as well.
Perfect QBR. And I also like what Dallas brings on the defensive end with DeMarcus Lawrence and Sean Lee, two very critical pieces on that Dallas defense. They did give up 17 points to the Giants last week. That's maybe a slight bit concerning given it's the Giants, but I'm sure they'll clean a lot of that up. I don't expect the Redskins to score more than maybe 10 or 14 points, something like that.
I think they could get. I think it's unfair to really not give the Redskins credit. They put up a really good game against the Philadelphia Eagles here. The Washington's a good football team. They're a lot better than I thought they were. I know it's only week 1, but they look like a pretty good team defensively. They have a lot of potential, but I didn't really see that on Sunday. They have Josh Norman, and Landon Collins in that secondary, and that secondary was absolutely garbage on Sunday. The Eagles, you have an old Deshaun Jackson, you have a Alshon Jeffrey that's, he's not that he had that 2 good years in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Alshon Jeffrey really hasn't been that amazing to me, at least. And they made those 2 guys look like given Pro Bowlers in week 1. So
not to mention the Dallas receiving core is also really good too. With
Cobb, Cooper, and Michael Gallup,
and Jason Witten too.
And Old Man Witten still put on a show. I got Dallas as well. I think it'll be a fairly close game. I think Washington will step up a little bit defensively. They'll clean up their sloppiness from week 1. I'm going to go Dallas 28, Washington 21 will be my score prediction.
Hey, they would still cover, I believe.
They're favored by 5.5 points. Now we'll go into our soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. They're taking on the divisional rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, at home. Both teams are 1-0. Big win for the Raiders last week, losing Antonio Brown and still finding a way to win. 24-16, I believe, against another divisional rival, the Denver Broncos. Matt, Raiders, Chiefs, Sunday, 1:05 p.m. in Oakland. Who do you got?
I got the Chiefs in this game. Judging off week 1, Patrick Mahomes looked really good. But even with, I think, a little bit of a bum ankle, they said, still put up very good numbers. I believe 378 and 3 touchdown passes. Very, very high usage. Also, Sammy Watkins getting a lot of good numbers in place of Tyreek Hill, who I believe is still out for this game.
Sammy Watkins put up 46 points.
Sammy Watkins,
by the way.
In my fantasy league, he was one of the later draft picks, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's not going to do anything for you." And he won me fantasy this week. I'll put it that way. He did win fantasy for me. But nonetheless, Kansas City, they're one of the favorite teams in the AFC, projected to probably play New England in the AFC Championship game in all likelihood this year.
Inevitably.
If they lose this game, that looks pretty bad on them, and I think a lot of experts and analysis are expecting Kansas City to win this game fairly easily.
I agree with Matt for the most part here. That Raiders defense did look a lot better from last year, but again, That was against the Denver Broncos. They don't have a lot of weapons offensively, especially when Joe Flacco's your quarterback. Um, but nothing less. They did look somewhat impressive. They were really good in the red zone. The secondary seems to improved a lot. They still, I think, need a little bit more of a pass rush. You know, trading Khalil Mack is still haunting him, it seems like. But yeah, I also had the Chiefs here. I don't think they'll run away with this game. Oakland, I think they're more motivated than ever, especially after this Antonio Brown thing, and everyone's pretty much doubting them. And also, it's a home game. It's a divisional rival. Teams usually come out to play for divisional games. I'll probably go with Kansas City here, 31-24. Derek Carr made their undrafted or 7th-round tight end, I believe, look very well. And you also had Tyrell Williams look very impressive. He's on my fantasy. I'm still contemplating whether I should start him this week. He's on my bench, and I believe he put up 20 points on my bench last week. So, they still have a fairly good team. Josh Jacobs, rookie running back, looked extremely impressive. I believe 110 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos last Monday night on Monday Night Football. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs here, 31-24. But it would not surprise me if the Raiders came out and pulled up an upset victory.
That'd be a pretty big
Crazy
upset.
as that sounds, wouldn't completely count them out yet. Next game here, Patriots and Dolphins. I got the Patriots, Matt.
Yeah, Patriots.
Okay, there's no point of even wasting time on this here. Saints and do you want to do the Steelers and Seahawks?
It's up to you.
Steelers and Seahawks here, in Pittsburgh. Seattle coming off a narrow victory against Cincinnati. Pittsburgh coming off an absolute blowout game against the New England Patriots, 30-33. Matt, do you think the Steelers will be able to bounce back tonight on Sunday and be able to get to 1-1 in the season?
I think they're gonna have to, and I say this as their season's gonna be on the line Sunday. I think if you win that game Sunday, you go 1-1. The next two, I believe, are Cincinnati, San Francisco. So you win those 2 games. Also, you're back to 3-1, and you're right back on track to the playoffs. But you lose this game, best you can pull out is 2-2, and you're fighting and dogging with Cleveland for a playoff spot. If the Steelers want any hope at the playoffs,
Don't count out Baltimore as well.
and Baltimore look really good. So you have to win all these games. Thankfully, it's a home game, and I think these guys are just after a blowout loss like that was on Sunday. I feel like the Steelers are just that more motivated to come back and be like, hold on, this is not the real Steelers we are. But it also is going to depend on Ben Roethlisberger. What Big Ben are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that makes the good decisions, puts up very good numbers, uses his receivers to the best of their abilities? Or are we going to get Sunday night's Big Ben where he's just throwing it wherever and putting his receivers in bad spots and, offense isn't sustaining drives? If we're going to get that, then obviously Seattle's going to win. But if they were able to clean that up on the offense, sustain longer drives on offense and end them in touchdowns, I expect the Steelers to win in a very close game, no more than probably 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say the Steelers here, but until that defense and especially that secondary improves,
Secondary was bad.
I cannot pick them to win this game. Russell Wilson, a very good quarterback, and they has Tyler Lockett and now DJ McCaff, who had a very impressive game as a rookie. For those who don't know who he is, he's the dude that had 1.6% body fat in the draft combine. That's absolutely insane. 4 receptions, 80 yards, and we also have the speed of Tyler Lockett. Carson as their running back didn't have that impressive of a game last Sunday, but nothing less. Until that Steelers secondary gets better, I don't see how they're gonna win a lot of football games this year. I don't think they'll be 5-11, but I don't see how they'll be a playoff team with that secondary. And you just lost Joe Hayden, who's now injured as well. So that's gonna hurt them. That secondary. I'm pretty sure Desert Pines' secondary is just as good as the
Probably
Steelers secondary. But I'm gonna go with the Seahawks here in about a 31-28 victory. I think the Steelers offense will look a lot better. I don't think that's the Ben Roethlisberger we're gonna see all season. He got
I hope not.
He got off to a bad start last year, and we saw him pick up his game a little bit. Juju Smith-Schuster will get a lot more looks, will be a lot better. They don't have a lot of other options really offensively, and then you have James Conner, who hopefully will have a better game. Didn't have too much of an impressive game, but they played a really good Patriots defense as well.
It's a lot better than people think.
And the Seahawks defense, is what it was in 2013 or 14 or whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna go Seattle here in a 31-28 narrow victory. I think the defense is what's gonna lose the game for the Steelers, not the offense. Next game here, NFC Championship rematch, Saints and Rams. A lot of people remember that from the controversial call on the officiating. A lot of people thought it was a pass interference. didn't get called, which inevitably led to the Rams winning that game and advancing to the Super Bowl. And a lot of people make the case if Saints got that call, they could have beaten the Patriots in the Super Bowl. We'll never know. But they have a rematch week 2 in Los Angeles. I wish it was in New Orleans, with the fans there going crazy. We kind of saw what they did on Monday night,
yeah.
where the ref costumes and everything. But Matt, who do you got in the NFC Championship rematch? Both teams are 1-0, 125 game in Los Angeles.
I got the Rams in this game. I'm not totally sold on what I saw from New Orleans Monday night. They kind of looked like a sloppy game for them, especially being at home. Now you're going to ask them to go on the road to a very competitive Rams team that is obviously an NFC favorite, along with a few other teams. Todd Gurley, I think this will be another game for him to kind of step it up a little bit more. He did play, I think, fairly well once he got it going against Carolina. I look to him for him to step it up more. Jared Goff, obviously, stepping up, finding
Jared
Cooper
Goff,
Kupp.
pass it to Cooper Kupp all game, please.
It looked at times that's what it looked like against Carolina.
And he underthrew a lot of his pass. Jared Goff looked kind of trash on Sunday versus the Panthers.
Right, but knowing Sean McVay, brilliant offensive mind, it's going to be a high scoring game. I think regardless, I do think that the Rams defense had stepped up a little bit. Adding Clay Matthews obviously is a big factor, and I just think the Saints are still a little too rocky, and it's almost like they're still, complaining about that call and worried about that call, and the Rams are like, okay, well, yeah, we want a fair game, but at the same time, we've moved on,
Yeah,
and all that.
doesn't move on.
Hey, we lost in the Super Bowl, and we've moved on from that. So, I expect a very high scoring, competitive game, and I'm going to give the Rams the win by like a field goal. It'll be close. It'll come down to like the last possession.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Saints here. I think this is a personal matchup for them. They're motivated to come here and win this game, especially from last year's controversial call. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees, they did put up 33 points, nothing less, on Monday. So offensively, they look great. Defensively, they could improve, but they also played a very good Texans team. Deshaun Watson is a phenomenal quarterback, and he has multiple weapons now. He has Carlos Hyde. He has DeAndre Hopkins, who's a top 5 receiver, and also has Will Fuller, who's a great young player as well. And Jared Goff looked really sloppy on Sunday. A lot of his passes were underthrown. I mean, Cooper Kupp was like 4 yards away from him on some plays, and Jared Goff threw it directly to his feet. Jared Goff did not look good at all on Sunday because I was in and out watching that game for my fantasy team. So I'm going to go with the Saints here. I think this is a personal matchup for them. They want to win this game. And I think they have a lot more weapons. Their defense has gotten better over the years, and you have Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, that duo. Alvin Kamara had another phenomenal game. He's a running back, that's able to probably get you 5 yards a carry and also be able to catch some passes in the backfield and get you an extra 10, 15 yards. So I'm going to go with the Saints here, 38-31 in Los Angeles. Saints get the win. Last game here, Browns and Jets, Monday Night Football. Both teams are 0-1. Sam Darnold will not play. Got mono over the weekend.
I don't believe Le'Veon's playing. I heard he's getting an MRI done.
Le'Veon won't play. So pretty much the Browns are going to win this football game, it sounds like.
Double digits, I'm guessing.
Yeah. But do you think it seems pretty obvious that the Browns won this game, but do you think, we'll see a better Baker Mayfield from Sunday? Absolute terrible performance, by the way.
Yeah, I think so. I think this week Baker Mayfield got his you-know-what ripped by all his coaches.
Oh, yeah.
It was more like, you won in the offseason talking all this stuff about how we're going to be good, and then you produce that on
Hopefully
Sunday.
this humbled them because they were cocky and chirping their mouths off season, and I've never seen the Patriots do this. The Patriots, no matter how many Super Bowls they win, no matter how many games they win, no matter how many FC championships they win, they're always a humble team coming into the season.
I would say, and this year you can make the argument they're one of the most feared teams to play against.
Yeah,
now.
and you don't see them chirping at all.
You know?
Bill Belichick has his players humbled, and I think that's was the problem with Freddie Kitchens and his group of guys. They're cocky coming into this all season, and they got a 29-point blowout
30.
against
I think it was 43-13.
43-13, 30-point blowout at home against the Tennessee Titans, who aren't that great of a team. And they play the Jets on the road. Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield, he's going to have a better game. He's going to be motivated to prove everyone wrong. But the Browns, they need to be humble. Even if they go 10-1 and they start winning these next 10 games, as a friend, dude I follow on Instagram, the Spike King, is a Patriots fan. But as he always says, real football starts in January. So once you get to the playoffs, that's when it really starts counting. So I think this team just needs to be humble throughout the year. Baker Mayfield, they need to get Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, and Odell Beckham Jr. going. Nick Chubb needs more touches. Nick Chubb's a great running back. Didn't get a lot of touches on Sunday, and they need to get David Njoku more involved as well. They have a lot of weapons on that offensive end. They just need to get everyone more involved. And I think throughout the year they need to trade for an offensive lineman. They traded one of their best offensive linemen away this offseason, and that hurted them. That's coming back to bite them in the ass, because we saw the pass rush on Baker Mayfield. He's not that athletic of a quarterback. You bring the pass rush onto him. He's not tall either. He's 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
You bring the pass rush onto him, he's going to throw the ball and he's going to make a terrible throw. So I think teams are kind of like starting to figure him out. They're because that's what the Titans did all game. They're just blitzing him, and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
and also kind of sounded like today, like the Jets kind of just thrown in the towel. They're like, "Oh, our season's over."
pretty
no
much.
Sam Darnold. You could just tell. You could hear in the press conference, the coach is like, "Oh, Sam's not gonna play," and Le'Veon. He sounded like he was. It was like, okay, season's over.
Pretty much. Typical New York Jets fashion.
So should be a winnable game for the Browns.
Yep, I agree with you, Matt. Browns should win this game. Do you want to get in Antonio Brown before we wrap things up?
A little bit, yeah. It's a pretty big topic on.
Pretty big topic. For those who don't know, maybe live under a rock. I don't know.
Big
rock. Humongous rock, like Patrick's rock from SpongeBob or something.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown, starting last week, was fined by a little bit of a timeline here. Was fined by the Raiders GM. Wasn't too fond of it because apparently, missing practice, which is against NFL rules, and it's also an NFL rule you are fined if you miss practice.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't make much sense to him, so he threw a fit about being fined. Then he went from there to cussing out his general manager and calling him a cracker, which I thought was actually kind of funny. Really hard not to burst out laughing right now. And then posting a private phone call to John Gruden, and then following on Saturday morning, basically saying, "Release me," got his wish, Raiders released him. And it seemed he wasn't allowed to talk to any other teams till 4 p.m. Eastern time, so which 1 p.m. here on the West Coast. Around 1:15 was announced he was signing with the New England Patriots. So apparently it took 15 minutes for him to be on board to join the Patriots. So I kind of think a little bit of this was orchestrated, or AB was scheming in advance to get to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, signed his deal with the Patriots. Kind of gone quiet. I was getting a little worried about Antonio Brown. We hadn't heard from him for 4 or 5 days. And then yesterday, or the day before, I believe, sexual assault charges were dropped on or announced that they were going to, someone was filing a lawsuit on Antonio Brown, his former trainer, for sexual assault. So now that's where we are now with Antonio Brown. The Patriots are operating under the belief that he will be able to play on Sunday unless the NFL steps in. So they're operating under the mentality innocent until proven guilty. Just because it a little bit is a sensitive subject in 2019. Won't get too much into it, but what's your thoughts right now on Antonio Brown?
I think what the NFL has to do is they have to investigate this thoroughly, and I think it's what you have to do, whether you're the NFL or just regular day-to-day life. You get accusations like this; they have to be investigated thoroughly to make sure they're actually truthful and all that. Because, like we talked about a little bit last night, for all we know, Antonio Brown could have been framed. I mean, there were supposedly 2 text messages. We don't know if they're from Antonio or if they're genuine or not. We would obviously hope not. Otherwise, it's a very bad look on Antonio, pretty much cussing her out. But something tells me it's a little bit framed. The other thing that kind of has me a little kind of suspicious about this is there's no criminal charges here. I believe it's
just
still
a lawsuit,
and I believe it's still within that statute of limitations. So if she did want to file criminal charges, she I think still could.
She's choosing not just lawsuit.
You're right. I think ultimately what's probably going to happen, and I've heard this a couple times just on some different networks, and it kind of makes the most sense here. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see the NFL place him temporarily on the exempt list until they can figure this out, until they're able to obviously get all the facts. By placing him on the exempt list, he's not missing out on any pay, so he is still going to get paid. The only thing is he's not going to be allowed to play. And I don't necessarily think you lose that way, especially if they do come back and say it's truthful. It would look bad if he was playing all that time as they were investigating and it comes back that it's indeed
It also
true.
could mess him up mentality and the team's
no
mentality.
doubt. And I could see him either playing on Sunday or being on the exempt list. I can't imagine a suspension this soon. That just seems way too quick.
Until there's more information.
Exactly. I don't think the man should be docked his pay while they investigate. So I think you either put him on the exempt list or you just allow him to play, regardless. But NFL will probably make that decision, I would think, within the next few days.
Yeah, I agree with Matt here. They need to investigate this thoroughly and make sure that this is a credible accusation, that, to make sure whether he is innocent or guilty. They need to really look into this, and I think putting him on that exempt list would make a lot of sense, because fans, they're not nice. They're a lot of fans are brutal, and he's going to be traveling on the road all these games, and it also could mess up tensions in the locker room with these accusations. Players can say, we're not really thinking about that. We're focused on Miami, but damn well everyone in that locker room is thinking the accusations that recently happened on Antonio Brown. Every time they look at him, and every time Antonio Brown takes step on an opposing team's field, he's going to get trolled by He's going to get trolled by players on the opposing team, fans in the audience. Yeah. So just for the safety and just for the mental state of Antonio Brown, I think they should put him on that exempt list until they finish this whole investigation. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. And again, he's still getting paid. He's not getting docked as paid, innocent until proven guilty. But nothing less, if he is allowed to play, this Patriots team is looking extremely dangerous with a receiving core of Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman, Dorsett, and then you have guys like James White and Sony Michael in the backfield.
I would say, and quite frankly, I don't think it would necessarily hurt the Patriots if they didn't have Antonio Brown. I looked at
I'll be like, oh man.
They're like, okay, we're still gonna go 7-0 to start the season.
We'll win by 50, and we'll win by 40 instead of 50 now.
Exactly. Darn. Yeah, I mean, the Patriots have a very easy part of their schedule coming up, so if they do have to go without Antonio Brown, I don't think it's the end of the world for them.
Yeah, and I do kind of think, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist myself. I do think that Antonio Brown of the Patriots move they've been plotting it for a while. I think Antonio Brown always wanted to go to the Patriots, kind of got traded to Oakland, tried to have an open mind, then saw Derek Carr throw footballs to him, and he was like, oh boy.
He understood what we were all saying about
him. Yeah. Bill Belichick called him up. He's like, all right, we're going to get to New England. Frostbite your feet. All right, Bill Belichick, I'll do that. That didn't work. Then he was like, all right, complain about your helmet. He's like, all right, I want to wear this helmet from freaking the 1980s. And then the NFL's like, no, because you're going to get a CTE. You're going to get a brain disease from wearing these helmets. That didn't work. Eventually found a helmet that was going to work for him. Then it was like, all right, complain about your fines. Complain about the fines. That didn't work. Apologized. Seemed to talk his way out of a suspension with the team. And then the Belichick was like, all right, just asked to be released at this point. And that obviously worked for him. Then posted the private phone calls about John Gruden. Yeah, I think they've been plotting this for some time. Just because even the timing of it, like, as soon as he was allowed to talk to NFL teams, a deal was done with the Patriots. Like, you don't agree to a contract that quick. There's more to contract. There's little details in contracts that need to be hashed out that take some time. He agreed to it right on the spot, and we even saw it in the NBA. We saw Kemba Walker agree to a deal with the Celtics 2 days before he was even allowed to talk to the Celtics. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So I think the NFL and NBA both know what's going on behind closed doors. I just think they choose to penalize who they want to penalize for it. Like NBA got the Lakers for it, but you saw the Celtics do it this offseason. They didn't get any trouble for it. And the NFL, I forgot who they got for it a couple of years ago. They penalized them for it, but now they're seeing the Patriots do it behind closed doors, and they're choosing not to penalize them for it or fine them or whatever the case may be. So I think leagues choose to penalize who they want to penalize for it, to be quite honest with you. But nothing less. Exciting week 2 coming up for the NFL. Glad football is back. Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you follow the Instagram, 4 Quarters, KUNV, correct?
Correct.
Same thing for Twitter. Follow our socials as well, Joey Gallegos 13, and we have
SportsMatt
702. Again, appreciate you guys listening. Matt?
Appreciate you guys listening. Stay tuned. September 22nd is our first show on radio. Make sure you guys tune in. Until then, stay tuned on YouTube, social media. Watch the games. Comment what you like, what you don't like. We got you.